Well folks, Hastie9s Tale from the Volley today is actually in two parts. It's a Scottish Cup tie. The first part begins in Baillieston. Armadale were drawn through to play Baillieston. They took a large number of travelling supporters with them, as usual. The faces were painted in the blue and white of the Thistle. But this time they had instruments with them. One of the chaps had a big drum. There was flutes. There was all sorts of instruments. But of course it was a big drum that caused all the noise. Let's just say, for an example, the Dale boys were standing between the first two pillars there, playing their drums as the game progressed. But all of a sudden, one of the Baillieston young team climbed over a wall. Before he knew it, there was 30 or 40 Baillieston young team. There was only one outcome. The young team wandered behind the goals. They took up their positions. The Dale boys took up their positions. I took up my position, which is way over there, because I knew it was going to kick off, and it surely did. There was chaos, there was dust, there was stones flying, there was bottles, there was cans, but believe this one or not, there was a crutch. Somebody had their crutch taken off them and it was getting used to pummel the opposition supporters. I've no idea to this day who actually had the broken leg, but the crutch was getting used as a weapon. You had to see this to believe it. The referee took the players off the pitch, and believe this one or not as well, there was about 30,000 at Parkhead that day, and there was police cars, black barriers, police dogs, and believe this one, a helicopter flew over from Parkhead, landed on the pitch. It was like some out of a SWAT team. They just waved at the fans. It was all happening. They were getting horsed in the back of vans. I think the outcome was 15 arrests, 14 from Armadale. Don't know how that worked out. Must have been the Glasgow police. Let's blame them. It was chaos. And I'll never forget this either. The referee was John Robotham, big bald headed chap. He was asked, he does these smokers round the country nowadays. He's always often asked what was his hardest game, and he says the Baillieston United Armadale Thistle Scottish Cup tie. Oh, that's actually frightening when you think of the places he's been. But anyway, back to the match itself. Mr. Robotham had taken the players off for their safety. Baillieston were up 2-0 at this time. The cops came in, segregated the fans, ejected a few, and unbelievably, Armadale came out with 2 minutes to go and scored 2 goals. There was a lot of head shaking and head and hands there for the relative committees. There was a draw. Wee Snowy banged in a couple, 2-2, which of course meant a replay back here at the famous Volley. And you might have seen it that day, folks. I'm not exaggerating. There must have been about 10 police horses. There was a helicopter flying overhead. There was riot cops. There must have been about 30 police on duty. And the segregation line there was between the dugouts down to the centre end there. That was for the Baillieston supporters. You'll not believe this. It's the original story of one man and his dog. That was it. One chap came through for Baillieston, he was standing with his dog, and that was it. It must have cost thousands for the security. That's just another Scottish Cup tie in the Dale. You had to be there to believe them. They're absolutely fantastic days out. That one was one of the best. The Baillieston young team didn't venture through the Dale. Can't blame them. They had had their ruckus the week before. It kicked off in the stand. There was nothing in the second leg to write home about. But that's your story from the Volley today. Segregation.